Cilia. I'm here in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And what I want to talk to you about today is excuses. And more importantly, how you can stop making excuses in your life. So this is something that's affected me greatly because personally, I've made a lot of excuses in my life about a lot of things. There was a time in my life where I was super overweight. So let's say about 275 pounds. If you compare that to what I look like right now, I'm about 220. Still have some weight to lose, but 50 pounds down from my heaviest. And during that time when I was 275 pounds and I was eating, I want you to picture this. I would come home from work and I would be eating peanut butter out of a jar with a knife. And one time my friend actually came to see me after work and I wasn't in a very good headspace. And he's like, dude, what's up with the peanut butter jar? I'm like, oh yeah, I just get home from work and I'm sad and I just sit and eat the peanut butter. And he's like, dude, what the hell, man? So at that time, I wasn't doing very good. I was in a really stressful job. And actually, I was making two excuses at the same time. One of the excuses I was making, let's see if you can relate to this, was I was saying, you know what? I have a really stressful job. So when I get off from work, I'm just going to eat the peanut butter. Even though I'm super fat and I need to lose some weight and eat less calories, I'm just going to, or whatever dietary, beliefs that you have, I need to lose some fucking weight. And so I didn't because my belief was, well, whatever, like, basically I'll lose it later, right? So that's one excuse that I had, which is I'll lose the weight later. The other excuse I had was that I was stuck in a really stressful job at the time. And I was working 10, 11-hour days, sometimes 7 days a week. It was really burning me out. I ended up actually getting a bacterial ulcer because of that job. And that's what forced me to quit. But I was making the excuse the whole time that I was like, well, I'll just quit later. I need to make the money. I need to hustle. I just need to work harder, right? And that was actually one of the reasons why I started a business in the first place, because I was like, I'm making like all this money and it's burning me out and I'm just going to kill myself eventually doing this, right? It's too much stress. So that was two excuses I've made. Also, I've made excuses about not systematizing my business, working really hard in my business, and not putting systems in place to have the business run itself. And I would make excuses like, well, I can do this one thing in my business super well, like sales, for example. So I should be the one to do it, versus learning how to hire a good salesperson, put them in that place so that you can relax. I would make the excuse of like, well, I need to do this because it's my business and I'm really good at sales, hypothetically speaking. Some other excuses I made in my life, making the excuse not to go travel because I need to work on my business. Making the excuse not to have a really fun, intimate experience with someone because I just need to focus on the grind right now. So I don't have time for romance. I don't have time to have a girlfriend right now, right? I made excuses where I didn't read the books that I wanted to read, travel to the places I wanted to travel. Basically, I just didn't have the life that I wanted to have because I made excuses. Making excuses is the single thing that will prevent you from having the life of your dreams. Whatever actually you want in life, you can block yourself from having that with excuses. Even if that thing would actually not even be that hard to get, you will block yourself from seeing the opportunity to get it because you have excuses in your mind. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to recognize the excuses that you're making. We're going to talk about that in dating. We're going to talk about that in terms of business or making money. And we're going to talk about that in terms of health. And then like lifestyle and stuff like that too, like traveling. So we're going to crack into that right now. So lock in, because this video is going to change your life. If you actually take the things that I tell you and you use them, this will change your life. So let's go. All right, so we're back. And what we're going to talk about first is dating. Now, a lot of people make a lot of excuses in dating, and I've done the same thing. I've made tons of excuses about why I shouldn't go out and meet people, why I don't deserve to have a great girlfriend or a great partner, whatever you want in life, right? And so I want to tell you a story first. So I met a man recently in Ho Chi Minh City, and this man was in his 60s, and he had recently gotten divorced. And we were talking at a bar, and he was saying that, I have this ex-wife, I have kids, I'm old now, I want to get a girlfriend, but I'm afraid that I won't be able to because I'm old. And that was the first excuse he had, is he said, well, I'm old, and these girls, they have so many options to choose from. Why would they want to choose me, right? And so what I told him was like, okay, great. Well, I guess you can just go and die alone then. And he kind of was like, what? Like, what are you talking about, right? And I said, look, man, what you have is a limiting belief in your head. It's a belief that is stopping you from getting what you want. So if you believe 100% that a girl doesn't see any value in you and you could never get a girlfriend because you're too old, then that's exactly what's going to happen, unfortunately, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. On the other hand, if you choose to believe something different, if you choose to believe something that can actually help you, then, you're going to do great and you're going to find someone to love and cuddle at night, right? And so I told him, look, man, that's okay if you believe that. Like, go and die alone. Like, seriously, just go and die alone, because that's the alternative. And he looked at me like, why are you being so harsh? And I said, what is the alternative? So, okay, you believe that you can't get a girlfriend because you're too old. So what options do you have, right? Option number one is that you try to go out and get a girlfriend anyway, despite your limiting belief. The second option is you just go and die alone, right? And you'll be right, by the way. Either way, you'll be right. If you believe you can get a girlfriend even though you're old, and then you go out and you get one, you're right. And in the same way, if you believe that you could never get a girlfriend because you're too old, and then you die alone, then you were right also, right? So it doesn't matter actually what you believe. You can choose to believe things that are empowering, or you could choose to believe things that are disempowering. Reality is very subjective, right? It's almost like we don't see what is in life. We see it through this lens of what we believe. So if you can actually alter that lens to believe things that are empowering, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because let's say you do meet a girl that could potentially be your girlfriend or not be your girlfriend, or a boyfriend, or whatever partner you want. If you believe that you deserve that person and that you deserve somebody like that, then you're going to act in a way that reinforces that, and paradoxically might actually come off as way more attractive to that person. On the other hand, if you believe that you're too old, or you're too fat, or in some way you are not deserving of that person or of love, which I believe every human being deserves love, right? If you believe that you don't deserve that, then you are going to repel that person. Not overtly, but subconsciously, you're going to behave in a way that you're going to be repelling them. Like, for example, whenever they frown, you're going to be like, oh, it's because I'm too old and they don't like me, right? You're instantly going to focus on that one little detail, versus if you believe that you are entitled to find love and you could easily find someone like that, then instead you'll be like, oh, she was just frowning because of something else, right? So it's these little subconscious things that end up happening where your beliefs and the excuses that you make, because of your beliefs, actually really affect your life in a profound way, especially with dating, right? So if you want to stop making excuses, you have to first look at your beliefs, right? So what are your beliefs around dating? Do you believe you're able to find a partner that you would really like and you'd be really attracted to, and who would find you very attractive, right? And I guess another belief would be do you believe that, actually, here's another one. So to finish that story, right? So one of the excuses that he had was that he was saying, I'm too old, I can never find a girlfriend. Another one that he said was how do you just go out and you meet somebody, right? Do you just go to the library or something? And I'm like, no, you just go out and you meet somebody at a bar or at a club or at a mall or out in the street or anywhere, right? And so he had this weird, excuses that he was coming up with because of his limiting beliefs of I'm too old to meet somebody. But that could apply to anything. I'm too bald to meet somebody. See, I'm losing my hair. This is another excuse I could make. When I was 275 pounds, I was meeting people, potential romantic partners, and I didn't let that excuse bother me, because I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to let this weird limiting belief that just because I'm super, super fat, for some reason that I can't find somebody that I'm attracted to and they're attracted to me as well, right? And it's funny because, what happened was I was able to meet people, and a huge part of that was because I felt confident despite what I looked like, and that was due to my beliefs. And so I didn't make the excuse of, there's this wrong with me, or there's that wrong with me, or there's this reason I can't meet the people I want. Because, I had the correct beliefs in place. So check your beliefs and make sure they're empowering and not disempowering, and that will help you to achieve actually, the action-taking momentum that we're talking about, as opposed to the excuse-making momentum that you might be stuck in right now. And that spiral of I'm not going to go and meet people tonight because, the bar is just full of pretentious people that I don't like, and they're not going to like me, and I'm too old, and I'm too fat, I'm too bald. and I'm not interesting at all, and I'm just the worst person ever. And you just spiral out of control down into the depths of excuse-making momentum. Snap out of it, look at your beliefs objectively, and say, are these beliefs helping me or not? If they're not, discard them and find better beliefs and choose to believe those things. Matter of fact, you don't even have to. Look, here's something I like to say a lot. Your brain wants proof, not promises. Your brain doesn't want promises. Oh, everybody's gonna love me if I go out and meet people. No. What your brain wants is proof. So go out and just say hi to someone and watch how you might actually meet someone that likes you and they put a smile on their face and they enjoy talking to you. Now your brain has proof that you didn't disintegrate when you went out and met people. Actually, you had a great time. You met some people you really liked. They liked you. And now you feel like you have value because you can tell yourself, I'm confident as much as you want. It's not going to help you because, again, your brain wants what? It doesn't want promises. It wants proof. So give it proof. Just take small little actions, right? If you can't suspend your bad beliefs for now, you don't have to. Just go and take small actions. Your brain will develop that proof of like, oh, hey, actually everything's okay and things are working out. And then slowly you can start to change those beliefs. So now what we're going to talk about next is we're going to talk about, so we talked about dating. Now we're going to talk about business and money next. So I'll see you in that next part. Yeah. All right, so we talked about the excuses that you make in your dating life. And now we're going to talk about the excuses that you make in your business and money life. But first, I'm going to tell you another story about the excuses that I've made in my business and money life. So I remember when I had that super stressful job. Remember the peanut butter story? So when I had that really stressful job, I was constantly making excuses about why I shouldn't start my business. It's not the right time. I'm too stressed out. I wouldn't do a good job anyway because I'm so stressed. I don't have enough money. I need to save money first. I need to focus on saving money before I can start a business. And let me tell you why those excuses were BS. Because first of all, I could have quit that job earlier and I could have gotten another job that paid less so I could have more time and energy to start a business. Secondly, I could have just, looked up how to, researched and learned about marketing, sales, how to build a sales funnel, how to build structures in a business. I could have been doing that. That's all free. That didn't take any money, right? But again, I had these excuses. I need to save money to start a business, even though I already had enough money to start a business. Don't need to have a lot of money to start a business nowadays. There is a thing called the internet, right? So all that to say, I had a ton of excuses when I was first starting, right? And I still do to this day. I'm not perfect by any means, but I've learned how to identify when I have these excuses, right? And even all throughout your journey, you're going to have excuses. Even when you start a business or you get your perfect job, right? You're going to have excuses of like, oh, well, today I don't want to work hard because of this or because of that, right? And so the thing that you want to do is figure out what your excuses are. First, be cognizant of the fact that you're making excuses. And second of all, just realize that they're BS, basically, right? Take a little step towards doing the thing you want to do. Change your state in some way. Let's say for whatever reason, you're like, I'm too lazy today. I don't want to build a business. Okay, well, can you work on it for 5 minutes? Because if you can work on it for 5 minutes, then at least you can take that little first step. And then who knows, maybe your state will change. Maybe you'll be like, actually, this isn't so bad. I can keep working on it, right? So figure out how you can just take that little bit of action and get yourself out of that spiral of excuse-making momentum. Because I promise you, I've talked to a lot of people that I've asked them, hey, have you ever thought about starting a business? 99% of them have thought about it and even have concrete plans of how they're going to do it. But they always have something that's stopping them. Always. Well, I tried doing this one thing and it wasn't working. I tried doing Google ads and they weren't converting. Okay, well, did you hire someone or did you learn more about how to do Google ads? No, right? So it always comes down to an excuse. Think about it. If you never were able to make any excuses, what would happen? You would get to your goal eventually, but there's something inside your mind, there's some thought that you're having that's stopping you from attaining that dream, that desire life that you want when it comes to business and making money. So really trying to sum this up as quickly as possible. I could talk about this for 8 more hours, I assure you, but I'm going to cut it off here. Think about the excuses that you're making and think about how BS they are and how if you just figured out a way to kind of trick your mind into not making the excuse, but instead just doing the thing that you know you need to do, how your life would change, right? So now we're gonna crack into another segment of this video. It's probably gonna be the last segment where we're gonna talk about excuses in lifestyle, travel, and things like that, okay? So we're gonna go there now. Talk to you then. All right, so this will be the last part of the video, and I want to talk about how people make excuses when it comes to lifestyle and travel. So I want to tell another story about a really, really good friend of mine. I've been friends with him for over 10 years. And this guy, I love with all my heart, okay? So if you're watching this right now, my dearest friend, I mean no harm, but I want to tell a story to illustrate something, right? So I've been trying to get my friend to come travel to Latin America with me. Now, I've been kind of doing the Asia tour recently. I don't know if you've seen some of my other videos. I've been in Thailand, I've been in Indonesia, Bali, Jakarta. Now I'm in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City. And so I've been trying to get him to come travel to Latin America with me because that is in his time zone. He works remotely, and so he's able to work anywhere really in the world, but especially in time zones that are comfortable for him, so same as America. So let's say anywhere in Latin America. And I've been trying to get him to come to Mexico because I feel like that's a good first step towards traveling the world. It's kind of like the beginner 101 travel destination. Like even my parents have been to Mexico. It's like quite safe if you kind of stay in the right areas. And so I've been trying to get him to come. And he had a couple excuses. And by the way, totally legitimate excuses from his perspective, right? So he was saying like, well, Mexico's not really on my list of traveling. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, man, really you haven't really traveled outside of the United States. And so having a list of places that you would like to travel to is sort of based on knowing what those places are like. And if you've never been anywhere besides the US, it's actually difficult to have a correct perspective on what you like and what you don't like out of another place and whether or not you would actually enjoy traveling there, right? So what I was trying to tell him is like, look, man, let's just go look. Like, let's just go see. Let's run an experiment where we go to Mexico for a week or to Colombia, where I have some friends there right now, or anywhere else in Latin America. And let's just go there for a week. You can keep working, by the way, which was another excuse he had. It's like, well, I need to work. I don't want to work and travel at the same time. I'm like, okay, these are two assumptions and two excuses you're making, but why don't we test the assumption and let's see if it's real. Let's see if it's true. We don't have to decide if this is true or not. This is a very easy experiment to do. Travel with me to Mexico for a week. Continue working as you are now. It's not going to interrupt your job. But travel with me to Mexico and let's see how you like it. Because the downside is that you travel to Mexico for a week. I guess you lose a little bit of money. But at least then you've tested your assumption and you've determined that, in fact, you are correct. Mexico is not a place that you enjoy. And also, you don't enjoy traveling and working at the same time. But here's the clincher, right? If for whatever reason you find that you were incorrect in your assumption and that you actually do enjoy traveling and working and that actually Mexico is an awesome place, suddenly that turns all of your beliefs on their head and you realize that maybe you were just making excuses and the reality is that traveling and working is awesome. I've been doing it for about 3 years now, and that actually a lot of places that you wouldn't think you would enjoy, you can enjoy a lot, right? For example, Vietnam, not a place I thought I would enjoy, but then again I realized actually I have no idea of knowing that just based on my brief assumptions I'm making about a place I've never been to. That's what's causing me to have this belief. So I was like, let's test that assumption, let's test that belief, and let's go to Vietnam. And I've been having an amazing, amazing time here, right? Same thing about Bali. I thought I was going to love Bali, right? Bali has this, brand associated with it. It's one of the most traveled to destinations in the world. People love going to Bali. Didn't have that good of a time there, right? Like, not really one of my top destinations. I can say now, because I've been there for over 3 weeks, I've done a lot of the stuff, I've met the people, I've ate the food, I've done the activities. So I can tell you, there's things I love about Bali, love the beaches, amazing. There's things I don't like about Bali, right? Especially the people that are like we call them Scooty boys. They're the guys that are, and the camera woman is laughing right now because they're super, super annoying after even a couple of days. If you stay in like Kuta, if you stay in the super, super touristy areas, we call them Scooty boys because they're always like, scooter, motorbike. They're always trying to get you to buy a scooter or a motorbike. And yeah, it can become, because they're super aggressive. It's not like other places where they're just like, oh, come look at my market. That's fine. But these guys are like rolling up to you like, hey, what's up? Come rent a scooter. And you're like, whoa, like it can be a bit much, right? And they're everywhere. It's like literally every 2 seconds. So probably our fault too. We stayed in a very touristy area in Bali. But anyway, the point being is that, as opposed to making an excuse based on, again, a belief that I had, based on very loosely correlated like ideas in my head of what a place would be, or what a place that I've never been to could be like. Instead, I decided to test that assumption, and I decided to see, like, put my beliefs up to the magnifying glass and say, is this correct? are my beliefs correct? And that way you don't have to make the excuse because you can just go test it. And so the thing that I told my friend was like, look, the downside of doing this experiment is that, yeah, you might lose a week of your life and you might have an experience that you didn't like very much. But the upside is tremendous, because let's say you do decide that you like traveling and working and that Mexico is awesome. Now suddenly that opens up all these other possibilities. Like, wow, I can actually travel and work for the next 50 years of my life, right? Assuming you live to 80. And also, maybe there's you're like, wow, if I thought Mexico wasn't that awesome and it turned out to be amazing, maybe there's a bunch of other places in the world that I think are not that awesome, that are not high on my list of travel, that are actually amazing, and I would love them, right? And maybe there's some places I want to travel that aren't really that great, or that I don't enjoy that much subjectively, right? So it's a really, really huge amount of upside, because if you think about all the experiences you could have, all the people you could meet, all the food you could eat, all the places you could stay, and the incredible things you could see and do and smell and hear and taste in other countries, I mean, that's like a whole lifetime of experiences for each country you travel to. Multiply that by 197 countries, or however many there are in the world. That is an incredible amount. That is lifetimes and eons of experiences of life that you are cutting off by saying, no, I don't want to test my assumptions. I don't want to test my beliefs, and I'm going to stick to this excuse that I have. So you see how you're losing so much by holding on to your excuses and not testing your assumptions, when you could easily just go do it. Imagine you're 60 years old right now, and you just spent your whole life living in these rigid beliefs, living with these excuses, and suddenly you test them when you're 60, and you realize, what the hell? I love traveling to Mexico. Let me travel to the other 100 plus countries in the world, and let me do it while I'm working, because actually that's not that big of a deal. It's actually awesome, right? And you're like, I wish I would have done this when I was 30. I'm 60 now. I lost 30 years of my life that I didn't go and do this amazing stuff, right? So what are the takeaways? Look at what assumptions you're making and what beliefs you have when it comes to your dating, your business, or your money-making situation, and your lifestyle travel situation, right? I guess we didn't really cover health and gym and fitness, but this kind of applies to that too, right? Just look at the assumptions and the beliefs that you have, write them down surrounding all these areas, and then test them, question them, and if need be, change them in the way that I said before, where your brain wants proof, not promises. So go out and take action. Okay, so your belief is that you're not the kind of person that wants to go to the gym. Why don't you try going to the gym? And why don't you actually try working out and try doing it consistently for a number of weeks or months, and find that actually it becomes something that you love doing, that you enjoy doing, and now you associate your identity with it. You build an ego identity around being someone that likes working out, and suddenly it's something that you can't live without. And all because you took a little bit of action. Again, you looked at your assumptions, you looked at your beliefs, and you thought, you know what, I'm making excuses, so instead I'm going to question my assumptions. I'm going to do things another way and see if maybe I was wrong about my assumptions, maybe I had the wrong beliefs, and maybe I can actually build the life that I really want to live. So that being said, we're going to crack out of here. We're going to walk a little bit more around Ho Chi Minh City. Beautiful city, highly recommend you visit, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.